My name is Lisa Macdougall. Prior to 2002, I really didn't know a lot about restorative justice. It was around that time that I met someone who thought it might be of interest, and I started volunteering with Valley Restorative Justice. I had gone back to school as an adult, so I was in school for a period of time. As I finished my schooling, an opportunity came up to apply for a caseworker job, and so I did that for several years, and when the executive director retired in 2017, I took over that position, so that's where I sit now. We are one of 8 agencies providing the program across the province. 8 nonprofit organizations provide the program. The program at one time was strictly a program for youth, 12 to 17 at the time of the incident. And in 2016, it expanded to adults. You have to be 12 to get access to our program, but we're now handling adult referrals to the program. It's interesting because we've always worked with all ages, because even though the person referred at one time could only be a youth, the victims, the people who have been harmed, have been all ages. So it's not as big a shift as one might think. What is a shift is we're getting some really complex cases. We find that wrapping resources around people in terms of mental health, addiction, poverty, all of the big social issues that you find. We spend a lot of time understanding our community organizations, networking, finding out where resources are, because we hit virtually every social issue that you could possibly imagine. How do we help seniors? How does Valley RJ work with seniors, help seniors? And it happens in a couple of ways. So primarily our office receives referrals to the Nova Scotia Restorative Justice Program. And those referrals can come at any point in the traditional justice process. So from police, from Crown attorneys, from judges or courts, from corrections staff, and from victim serving agencies. So in those files, there really is a person referred to restorative justice because they've caused harm. Often in the traditional justice system, they're called the offender. And there is, again, the traditional justice system would call the person harmed a victim. So if a senior was referred to the program because something had happened, trespassing or damage to property, assaults, mischief, if someone is charged with any offense, they can be sent to our program, and we will work with victims. So the senior could be the person referred, but they could also be the victim. The other way that I find we bump up with seniors a lot is we started a program several years ago, and we're just getting back to reinvigorating this work. And that's around restorative approaches to senior safety. And the senior safety coordinators in Annapolis, Kings, West Hants, the territory that I work in, have been instrumental in working to help create safer communities. Whether it's an incident where there's been criminal harm or just a situation where there's concern or conflict for a senior, a restorative approach looks at what everybody needs, what's the impact, what has to happen for folks to move forward in a better way. And the senior safety coordinators, we've grown alongside each other and learned about work with seniors, about restorative approaches, and kind of tailored a program that can address a high number of harms outside of the justice system. So I would encourage folks, seniors who have a concern or a conflict or an issue they don't really know what to do about, I'd encourage them to talk to the senior safety coordinator and find out if a restorative approach to that situation might be most appropriate. If folks are referred to our program because they have committed some kind of an offense, you can expect a really non-judgmental space. We're very relationally focused. We look at relationships in our communities as sort of the key to helping folks move forward in a better way. And that's our goal. Punishment is often what the traditional justice system thinks of. We think about what resources can we wrap around people? What help do people need so that this doesn't happen again? And to give a brief example, I often use an example of theft. If I'm stealing from a store and I'm stealing food because my kids are hungry, the fix to that is often finding out where the food banks are, figuring out how to get a job or how to write a resume, where to find clothes that I can wear to a job interview because I may not have anything appropriate, so I know I'm not going to get the job. And finding out other resources that might be helpful to help the children and help the family with the food that they need. If I'm stealing, maybe I'm stealing cameras or something that I can resell for a good chunk of money so that I can feed an addiction. Maybe I am using alcohol or another substance. That's a different fix. That is more about wrapping resources, whether it's mental health addictions, whether it's trauma I'm using a substance to cope. So that, again, that's a different fix than stealing food because I'm hungry. And sometimes people steal things just to make themselves feel better. It's almost like it's a self-esteem issue. I go out and steal a PlayStation or a Wii because nobody will come to my house. I don't have the big toys. So we tailor each file is individual, and we tailor what needs to happen and the approach to that file. So no two RJ processes will ever really look alike. I would encourage folks, whether you are referred to our program because you've committed a criminal incident or if you're a victim of an offense and you're wondering what this is all about, I would encourage you to at least meet once with our caseworkers and find out what the process could look like for you and the level of participation. Victims are never forced into meeting a person face to face, and they're never forced into taking part in any type of RJ process. It's very much at your own pace, and we're hoping that we give you what you need to move forward and to sort of find closure. When we first looked at creating a restorative process around senior safety, one of the things that the senior safety coordinators were finding in their work was a lot of times when it was an issue of abuse, whether it's emotional or financial or physical, the abuse was happening to seniors by a caretaker or a family member. And seniors were really, really reluctant to report this to police. They didn't want their family member to have any criminal justice response. The senior safety coordinators were looking at how can we respond when we hear that abuse is happening without that criminal justice system response. And so if seniors had any concerns around their own safety, absolutely contact Valley Restorative Justice. There are 13 senior safety coordinators across the province. If you can find that person, they'll come out, they can come to your house, they can talk to you about the issue, determine how to go about it, and sometimes really use that restorative approach and even partner with the restorative justice agencies to find out a better solution. And it might involve preparing everybody for a session where everybody comes together to find out what can be done better so that the abuse doesn't happen, but that there aren't criminal charges laid. So those are areas that seniors can always check into. Our office is located in Kentville, Nova Scotia. We have one main office, but we cover essentially Bear River up to almost Mount Uniacke, anywhere that Windsor RCMP cover. Our phone number is 902-679-0650. Always feel free to call and leave a message and someone will get back to you. The criminal justice system is a very punitive system where punishment is seen as a way to deter people. And what restorative justice is that oftentimes punishment isn't what's necessary. If I'm addicted to a substance and I damage property or assault someone, no amount of fines or community service work are going to help me if I don't work at the addiction and work to understand how I can get better and prevent myself from doing any type of criminal harm. If you're a senior citizen and you feel that you might be being abused but you're not sure, my best advice would be to reach out to one of the senior safety coordinators who can help you tease through the situation and determine what you need to change or what you need to go better to feel better about what's happening. If it is an actual situation where there is abuse involved and it's a family member and you really don't want to lay charges, the senior safety coordinators can be instrumental in helping you navigate what's going on and how to keep your family members safe and keep them in your life without criminal charges. The Nova Scotia Restorative Justice Program is a principle-based program. We look at relationships. What are folks' relationships to each other? What are their relationships like to other folks in their communities? And what are their relationships to systems and organizations? The second principle is comprehensive and holistic. We look at the context and the histories and the impacts of criminal incidents and work to help people move forward in a much better way. The third principle, inclusive and participatory, means that we try to create really safe, trauma-informed spaces for difficult conversations. And that means finding out what every person needs to come together in a really good way to do some good work and to move past a criminal incident. The next principle is responsive. The program wants to be flexible and responsive to each individual file or situation we handle. So it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Each file, each situation is very unique and individual, and so is the response. The next principle is collaborative and non-adversarial. We're not about punishment, we're about working out good solutions to move forward in a better way. And we look at collaborating with folks who can help us understand the issues that are present in each file, each situation, and also can provide a piece of the way forward, whether it's a resource or an opportunity to take part in a program. We are so good at finding resources that will help the unique needs of everyone in a situation. We wrap resources around people to be preventative and proactive so that the situation will not happen again. Well, thanks so much for watching. I hope that I've been able to share a little bit of my passion for restorative work and answered a few questions for you about what the process looks like. If you do want to reach out, our office number is 902-679-0650. Again, my name is Lisa Macdougall, and I'm always happy to talk to people and try to figure out what a restorative approach could do to help them out.